Here's a story about going out of Egypt. Russia was a USSR was a very dictatorial country, and it was impossible to get out of Russia. You had to have all sorts of permits and permission in order to get out of Russia. It was and so there was a lot of Jews that were trapped. They were trapped. They wanted to get out, and they weren't given permission to get out. One of them was a Rabbi Lefkofker. As far as I know, this is the Rabbi Lefkofker that I knew. I used to have a Chabad house in Or Yehuda, and he worked there. A Chabad Chassid with a beard, and he worked there. And he was trapped in Russia, and he couldn't get out. Somehow or other, his mother and his brother, they got permission. They got permission to leave, and they were out. They had left. Maybe they had left much earlier, but he, for some reason, did not get permission to leave. And every year he would ask for permission. Now, in Russia, if you ask for permission to leave, Russia, it was very, first of all, it was almost impossible to get the permission. And also, they tried to dissuade people from even asking as much as possible. How? Because anyone who did ask to be freed from Russia, get out, as usually he was fired from his job. And he wouldn't get hired to a new job. And you had to really, suffer economically and suffer otherwise. Also, you're ostracized from certain things. Anyway, so he requested year after year, and he didn't get. So there was a big forbringen by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and his brother, who was in America, he went up to the Rebbe. This was in between the Rebbe's speeches, and he said, "What about my brother? My brother is in Russia. I want him to get." Now the Rebbe had a very special connection to the Jews in Russia, a very special connection. The Rebbe had a special connection with Jews everywhere, but especially in Russia. And so the Rebbe said he'll get out. He'll get out, and he'll get out. So they got a message back to his brother, and they said, Father said that Passover is coming or something. In other words, they had to write in hints. He's going. So he knew he was going to. But the year went by, a month went by, another month went by, and the year progressed, and he didn't get any permission. He went down to the post office, once a week, whatever, and sorry, we didn't get anything. So the next forbringen that there was, the Rebbe was speaking, and he went up. His brother went up, and said, "My brother still didn't get permission." So the Rebbe said he has to turn over tables. If he wants to get out, he has to turn over the tables, and then he'll get it. So he got the message back to his brother. Somehow or other, he got the message back to his brother that if he wants to get out, he has to turn over tables. Usually you have to pound on the table. But the language of the Rebbe was he had to turn over the tables. So his brother was a very meek sort of a person, very quiet, nice person, got along with everybody and didn't make any troubles, didn't make any waves, just sort of waited, God will help. And now, he prayed, of course, and he did good deeds, but still nothing happened. So he said, you have to turn over tables. So he went to the post office, and the post office manager said, "You again? What do you got?" He said, "I want to know if my letter is here." He said, "I told you already it's not here." So he started pounding on the table. He said, "I want my letter." So he said, "I'm going to call the police. I'm going to have you thrown out." So he grabbed a hold of the bottom of the table, and he lifted it up with all of his power, with everything that he had, and the table turned over. And everything that was on the table, letters and checks and boxes and books and shelves, everything just went over, screaming, yelling, and the owner of the place yelling and screaming. And he said, "I want my permission to get out. I want my letter of permission." I think the Rebbe even said to him, "The letter is there. You have to turn over tables." That was the language. The letter is there. "I want my this." So the police came in and they were screaming, "What is going on?" He tried to turn the place over. He refuses to give me the letter there. Meanwhile, one of the police goes behind the thing, behind the this, and he says, "What is your name?" Lefkofker. Looks, he says, "Here's the letter. Here's a letter for you here." He says, this letter is like, a month, 2 months ago. Takes the letter. It's a permission for you to leave. So the only as far as I understood, they took the one who was the head of the post office, and they put him in jail. And he got his permission, and he left. And sure enough, a couple of weeks later, he was by the Rebbe. He was by the Rebbe in New York. Eventually, or maybe, in any case, in the end, he came to Eretz Israel, but he was free. So somehow or other, the Rebbe knew that the letter of release was there. And he knew that the only way to do it was to pound on the table, to turn over the table. So the same thing with us. The Mashiach, says the Rebbe, is already here. We just have to turn over tables. We just have to demand it from God, right? God is, for some reason, so we have to say, like Moses said to God, Lama hareos lama zeh. Why are you making these people suffer? Why do we have to suffer? And let's have Mashiach now. We need Mashiach now. Of course, we don't have to yell and scream and turn things over and wreck, the whole synagogue or something like that. In order, and if you do, don't say that Rabbi Bolton told you to do it. But you don't have to do that. But what we do have to do is spiritually turn ourselves over and do a little bit more and say a little bit more, talk about Mashiach a little bit more, and you'll be surprised at the good results that come from it. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, God willing, we'll have class tomorrow. Tonight is B'dikat Chametz. You have to look for that Chametz. Find it not only in your house, but in yourself as well. We just finished learning what Chametz is. And with God's help, we'll get rid of all the Chametz, and we'll all be together in Jerusalem for the next class.
Amen.
Shalom uvracha. Have a good day with Mashiach now.
See you tomorrow.